Hi and welcome. I'm your host, Michelle Marchant Johnson with Love Life Coaching, and I'm thrilled today to have with us one of my all-time favorite returning guests, and that is the wonderful Dr. John Gray. Welcome, John.
I'm happy to be with you.
So happy to have you back. I enjoy our conversation so much, and I thank you because I know you're giving so much value to so many people, not only in my audience, but throughout the world. And I like to just do a little formal intro of John, even though his name, in many cases, in most cases, is a household name. But I think it's nice to give a little acknowledgement too. John is the author of the most well-known and trusted relationship book of all time, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. I was telling John before that I remember reading that when it came out years ago. USA Today listed his book as one of the top 10 most influential books of the last quarter century. In hardcover, it was the #1 best-selling book of the 1990s, and his books are translated into approximately 45 languages in more than 100 countries, and this book continues to be a bestseller. He's written over 20 books. His most recent book is Beyond Mars and Venus. By the way, this one is fantastic. I recommend it all the time to my single clients, to married clients. It's so good. It's helped me so much in my own marriage, so I highly recommend it. His Mars Venus book series has forever changed the way men and women view their relationships. John helps men and women better understand and respect their differences in both personal and professional relationships. And his approach combines specific communication techniques with healthy nutritional choices that create the brain and body chemistry for lasting health, happiness, and romance. And I encourage you to check out all of his books, his blogs. He also has a fantastic free online workshop at marsvenus.com. That's his main website, marsvenus.com. And you can get all kinds of resources there. Also get on his mailing list, and he and his daughter Lauren will send you some wonderful ongoing resources. So be sure to check that out. We'll put links to this in the notes below, and be sure to give us a like and give us a comment. If you're watching this, feel free to share it with your friends, because we want to get John's wisdom out there to even more people. Some of those people that maybe not like me didn't know about John back in the 90s and early 2000s and that sort of thing. So, John, today our interview is going to be part of a series that helps women understand what's going on in the hearts and minds of men, because to women, men are often a mystery. And I really want to specifically zero in on what's going on in the hearts and minds of men in the dating process, because most of my audience are single women, tend to be a little more mature single women, 40s, 50s, 60s. And many of them have had success in other areas of life, but have had a difficult time or a challenging time, or not the success or hope that they'd want in their relationships. And the dating process is quite frustrating for a lot of them. And they don't quite understand where men are coming from the time a man decides to ask someone out to whether he decides to continue to date her and what that process looks like, all the way to potentially getting to a commitment and even marriage. And of course, I recommend your book, Mars Venus on a Date, so often, but I'd love to explore, just kind of from the male point of view, a little bit more about what's going on in the dating process. I'm leaving it kind of wide open because there's so much there, but I know you have a lot of wisdom to share with us in this area.
Well, Michelle, I love talking with you, and I hope that you will interrupt me and ask questions because I could talk 5 hours straight on the ideas in that book, Mars Venus on a Date. Uh, but we really, if we want to get into the minds of men, we do it from the perspective of how I do it from the perspective of how it's different from the way women think. So that gives it relevance. Okay, so. If we thought just the way women thought, we wouldn't be such a mystery. If we thought just the way women thought, you wouldn't be attracted to us. Ultimately, it's differences that create attraction. And that's the first little piece of dating advice right there. What makes a relationship work is similar values. Okay, so you have to have certain values. Like all my wives, I was married to Barbara for 2 years, married to Bonnie for 34 years, married to my present wife now for 3 years. Similar values is really what holds it together. And for me, that is sincerity and spirituality and love. Those are real big priorities for me. And sincerity is honesty, it's integrity, it's a good guy. I don't cheat anybody. I don't want to cheat anybody. And so any woman who reflects that will be attracted to me, and I'll be attracted to her because of that similar value. But on next to similar values is differences. Okay, so my wife, Bonnie, we had different perspectives and we could easily harmonize those because we have similar values. But the differences is what creates the attraction. She was really into making the home look beautiful. And I really appreciated that. But I'm not that neat. So, so there's this ultimate conflict that goes on inside of our relationship, which is I'm a bit messy, she's a bit overly neat. So if I'm messy, it's a very frustrating thing for her. If she's trying to get me to not be messy, that's a frustrating thing to me. So those are the differences. It's those differences that we had to learn how to harmonize and work together in that. So that the potential conflict has to be there because you have different points of view on things. I like to work hard, and she likes to have more time for the relationship. So there were places of compromise that we both had to make there. This is just an example. I'm just coming up with a few of the examples of where we're actually very different. And what I'm saying to women is don't look for the guy who thinks just like you do. He has similar values that you can admire and respect, but it doesn't have to be you're the same. Because if you really are the same, there's a great episode of Seinfeld, for those that watch the Seinfeld episodes, where Seinfeld, a comedian, he's always looking for love, and he finds this girl and he has this great relationship with her for a couple of weeks, and then they break up. And George, the other guy, says, "Why'd you break up?" He says, "Well, she's so funny. I would give my jokes, but she always knew the punchlines. It's like she knew it. We think just alike. And so I want to be in a relationship because I don't want to be with just me all the time. I want somebody different from me." So there has to be that difference. And if you kind of look at it from a spiritual point of view, we're drawn to someone who's different from us in order to integrate that part of them that's not like us, but actually is within us. Ultimately, men are drawn to women when they are to connect with their own female side. So I can be a man single and just try to be more feminine, and my masculine will weaken. And this is any man who's single who has addictions. Addictions is when you're on your female side. You're depending on something outside yourself for happiness, rather than depending on your actions for your happiness. Now, that's pure masculinity. Now, men don't always know that about themselves, but I'm telling you, if you look at a man who's happy and fulfilled, his happiness and fulfillment isn't coming primarily from a girl or a woman. It's coming from his own work. He feels good about himself. He's of service to the world. He feels good on a biological level. He's making a lot of testosterone by working. Then, as a result of that, he wants to share the fruit of his actions. He wants to share the fruit of his actions, and that gives him a new level of fulfillment. So there's like a learning curve for guys, which is I want to be successful. So I get a certain level of success, and then I'm going to feel like I'm not happy with that, because what I need is to be able to share that with somebody, because ultimately that's what masculinity is about. Whether men know it or not, they don't always have the introspective awareness, but when they read my books, they go, yeah, this is just as I think. I validate their tendencies. But, we think of men as noble men who give up their lives to protect their families, to protect their countries, to do anything for a woman that she doesn't want to do. And ultimately, that was the world we came from, where men did dirty jobs, dangerous jobs, difficult jobs, and didn't complain about it. They were happy to do it. They don't whine about it. They don't say it's unfair working conditions. They don't say anything. They don't complain. That's masculinity. It's not a victim. But then what they would do is earn their money, and then they want to bring it to the woman to make her life better. And that's what would open his heart. So biologically, we don't have the estrogen that women have. Women have to make 10 times more estrogen just to be happy, and 20 times more estrogen than a man in order to feel romantic feelings. This is really different. Now, what produces estrogen? estrogen is produced when you're depending on someone for something. So as a woman, you're being attracted to a guy. There's a part of you that goes, oh, this is a guy. He might listen to me. He might have money. He can support me. He might be charming, and he will appreciate me, love me, care for me. So in the beginning, you're living in a fantasy. Your imagination is saying, look what I can have. Look what I can get. Look what might be. And so it's like, what am I going to receive? Because that's what estrogen's all about. Estrogen is trusting others to give to us what we need. And that's the foundation of romance for a woman, is that I, as a man, my excitement is I see a woman who needs help. Every romantic novel is always, he's either a billionaire with his own helicopter, or he's a pirate who's adventurous, but he's got gold. He'll face danger. He's tough. There's I forget what the other stereotypes are, but it's men who can provide something to fulfill a woman's needs. And one of the challenges for women today in the dating circle is they become so independent. That's testosterone producing, which is nothing wrong with that. It's power, it's security, and all that. But you're not depending on anybody. And if you're not depending on someone for something of value and meaning for you, you don't make enough estrogen to be attractive to the opposite sex. So when you're this competent, capable woman, what's going on inside of a man's mind? He's either thinking, oh, she's too good for me, she'll look down on me, which is true. So many women say, where are the men? And I say, the guys wearing the blue collar shirts. I want a guy who's educated like me. Well, already, you see, women always, and they still do to a great extent, they marry up. There's got to be something they look up to the man for. Now, why would that be? And of course, the simple thing is you tell a high school girl, if you want boys, don't be smarter than them. And so that sounds like, because he has to feel in some way, I have something of value to offer you. And now in this world today where women make 30% more than men for the same job, and that's if they're educated, and they're making all this money, a man thinks, why does she need me? So he doesn't have his confidence to pursue her, and he's not interested in her. So it's either he doesn't have confidence to pursue her, or he has no interest, because why would I be interested in a woman who doesn't need me? Because if let's say you're a poor woman, and just that you need money, all he has to do is drive a nice car, and you're like, oh, maybe he'll marry me, Ooh, that's great. But once she's making more money, she doesn't need him for that. So what does a woman need a man for? That's the big thing. So in dating, a woman has to become aware that I'm lonely, and I'm unhappy being lonely, and I need love, and I need someone to talk to. I need companionship. I need someone to ravish me. I need someone to make love to me. I see it in the movies, but I want it for me. I can see it there. I can go, yes, that's me. I want that. I want a man who sweep me off my feet. I want a man who'll be interested in me, turned on to me, but patient, knows how to make love. Well, no men know how to do that. My father never knew how to do that. Yet my mother was happy. Why was she happy? Because her dream was 7 children. She got 7 children. I don't know if she expected 6 boys, but she was a very happy woman, because my father made enough money without being stressed out to live in a nice middle-class neighborhood where you didn't worry about money. Money was not an issue. I grew up never thinking about money. I didn't feel like I got hand-me-downs. I got my brother's bicycle, but it wasn't like we were poor or anything, and we weren't rich. So it wasn't a thought. So I'm living in that place. My mother's very happy because her dream has come true. My dad goes to work. He comes home. He doesn't do any of the romantic things, but they had 7 children. So they were having sex.
Something happened.
Something was happening. We did listen at the door, and we'd hear something happening. But there was nothing to fight about or argue about. There was a lot of love and support there, because the primary need that my mother had was a man who didn't get angry with her, a man who worked hard, and a man who was the policeman to help manage these boys, because she could just say, if you don't listen to me, I'll tell your father, and he'd come home and he'd spank you and all that. So we listened to her, so we didn't get spanked by dad. And so that was sort of the ideal of the old male-female relationship, which goes on still today in all indigenous tribes. Okay. And I'll just say something about the indigenous tribes that I've lived in the Amazon or in Africa. What you'll see, at least in the particularly spending the night and sleeping with in the village with the Amazon people, the women are having orgasms every night. Okay, every night, and there's no romantic gestures that men are doing. Men just go face the dirty, dangerous, and difficult, and the women are really grateful for that. And then those men come home and they're very happy because their wives are turned on to them. Sex is, you want to know what goes on inside of a man? You know, in real estate, it's location, location, location. When it comes to a man's brain, it's sex, sex, sex. And you know, we don't want to say this. It's not polite to say or to think, but it's always going on inside of men. And there's studies that show it, at least for 20-year-old and the 20s men. They have these tests. How often are you thinking about sex? And it's every minute they think about sex. It could be looking at that girl's skirt. It could be looking at that guy driving a sports car, thinking he probably has a good girlfriend. You know, men are thinking about sex all the time. Who's getting it? Who's not getting it? How could I get it? Why can't I get it? It's always going on. Why is that? Because we as men, males, mature faster in the sexual arena. A lot of people don't see that as maturity, but actually, as a relationship expert, what I know to be the case is sex is one of the most important things to keep a couple together. It's not the only thing. The other thing is love and communication and cooperation and caring, all of that stuff. Well, that's the maturity that girls have, women have. They have the great awareness of the importance of relationship for happiness in life. And unfortunately, that's being lost by a lot of women, which is to make money more important than love. And men will always make money more important unless they have in a relationship where a woman gives him love. But when men don't get love from a woman, they're stuck over in sex land and money land, and not bad places, but they don't make you fulfilled if you don't also have love. And we look to, whether we know it or not as men, we depend upon, primarily for women, to value love and make love a priority. So in my marriage with Bonnie, you know, after I wrote Men Are From Mars, my gosh, opportunities were everywhere. And
Yeah.
I could have made so much more money. I mean, I could go to China and give a talk. I get paid $100,000 for a talk, but I had to fly to
Wow.
China to do it, you know, and then come back home and on that whole journey. It wouldn't be just one talk, maybe a couple of day seminar, and they pay me huge money. So, and this was everywhere. I go to Russia, I go to Turkey, I go, you know, England, anywhere in the world I could go and make huge amounts of money. And she said, honey, we have plenty of money. I need you home. You can go, you know, I don't want you to stay home all the time. I know when we got married, I told her, you know, my job is I teach classes, so I'm going to be away. When in the beginning, I was away for 3 weekends a month to pay for the family, you know, to run to these 3-day classes. So we ended up, once I was more successful, never to be gone in a month more than 9 days. And that was because she required it. You know, she says, honey, if I don't get you that much time, then you're going to have this woman who's all independent and not in love with you. I need something from you in order to feel so much love for you. I can't just have money. Money's not going to do it. If we were poor, money might do it. but once we had this lifestyle and a bank account and so forth, everything changes. And so what changes is, what do you need your partner for? And so this is the whole key for women to understand. If a woman doesn't know inside herself, why do I need a man, and truly value that and feel it, a man's not going to be attracted to her. And now this is a scary thing for women, because particularly independent women, because they've had the experience of being like a pendulum. You go over to your masculine side, which is your independent side, and like a pendulum, you do swing back over here to your female side. But if you go way to your masculine, then you swing way over to the other female side. And after you get to a point where you're having sex in a relationship, for many of these women, they feel extreme neediness. Okay, so it's no longer just I need you. It's I need more than you're giving me. An example would be, one of my clients from Germany, and he has a hot girlfriend in Brazil. Okay, and so they're having sex, and he says, sex is great, but I had to end the relationship, and I need your help. Maybe we can save it. And actually, they did get back together after I gave him a little advice. But part of this was, so I said, so what's the problem? He says, well, we spend all this time together and we have great sex. And then I need to like do other things. And I say to her, yeah, I want to go fishing with my friends. And she says, oh, but if you go fishing with your friends for the weekend, I'll miss you. And that hurts. Do you want to hurt me?
Oh.
Why? Do you want to hurt me? I just want to go do that. But in her mind, because there's this lack of awareness, is that when you're needing someone for more than they can give you or should be giving you, it's the worst thing for a man. Then you become needy. And when you're needy, he feels controlled. And she doesn't realize that she's controlling. She doesn't feel she's controlling. She's just telling how she feels, but it hurts when you go. And so I gave him a whole explanation to give to her so she could realize that as men, it's Men from Mars #1. In so many of our interviews, we've talked about men needing space in order to repel desire. If a man's with a woman all the time, just when you're with a woman that you care about, what will happen for a man is his female hormones will go up. Estrogen goes up. And when estrogen goes up and testosterone's not going higher, then what happens is his testosterone starts going down. I'll give you an example of that. 2 examples really quick. Because this rich research backs up all this stuff, but I could spend the whole time talking about 1 or 2 studies, and I want to give people practical advice. But here's one. If you look at men's testosterone levels, and testosterone gives men motivation, interest, opens their heart to give more to a woman. Okay, so the higher it goes, the more romantic a man can be with a woman. And if you look at averages of testosterone in men, every year it goes down 1%, 1%, 1%. So at 35, there's a certain amount of testosterone. A 45-year-old, it's going to be 10% lower. And already we're starting at such a low level that just in this year, 20-year-olds have 20% less testosterone than just 20 years ago. We've been so feminized by our culture and psychology and the mindset of our culture, along with weight gain. Weight gain is a major testosterone inhibitor. Men will get this belly fat, and it happens to all men, almost all men anyway. As their testosterone goes down, their belly fat increases because their estrogen goes up. When men's estrogen goes up, the more men do what they love to do, they like to do, they enjoy doing. Anytime you're depending on something other than yourself for your happiness, your estrogen goes up. There's nothing wrong with that as long as it's not too much. All addictions ruin relationships with men because an addiction means you're overly dependent on something to make you happy. And that inhibits your ability to make testosterone because it produces so much estrogen in the body. So while estrogen is the beneficial, super beneficial in most cases for women, different times of the month, progesterone is more important. But the estrogen, if her estrogen is low, her stress levels go high. And anytime part of the biological wisdom of women is through relationship. It's the major way that women raise their estrogen is when you're depending on others for love and support. When you go to a doctor, you're depending on the doctor for something of meaning to you. You need what he's going to tell you. So you're like, oh, I got a great doctor. I love my doctor. Well, just going to your doctor, your estrogen levels go up. It could be that they're giving you a placebo and it will still work because when your estrogen goes up, your trust goes up, your stress levels go down, and you can digest better. Your immune system works better. You don't, a lot of women overeat. They just eat to the point of pain instead of, it's just like, I got to eat. Well, that's they're feeling stressed. And so they eat because when you're eating, you're depending on something to make you happy. Your estrogen goes up, but it's not a healthy way to raise your estrogen. The healthy way to raise your estrogen is relationship. So in the dating place, your estrogen goes up. That's that falling in love. That's the first stage of dating. There's a lot to say about that, but I'm going to skip over some of the things, but I'll do one important one. If you've had the experience as a woman of having sex on first or second date, and then the guy never calls you back, but it's a pattern. It's in psychology. I didn't invent this, although I've seen it to be true, is that you're basically working out some childhood issue of abandonment from your father. A father who wasn't available to you will cause you to feel attracted to men who are not available to you. So you'll tend to want them to win their love, and that people-pleasing aspect of you will cause you to be turned on to the wrong men. If you didn't have that, you wouldn't be turned on to a man until he got to know you, until he did wonderful things for you, and then you get turned on to him. That's the appropriate being turned on, is a man does things that actually raise your estrogen. But danger can also raise your estrogen. So and you're intuitively feeling this is on some subconscious level, this is not the right guy for me. But you'll get all turned on and then think that because danger produces dopamine and dopamine raises estrogen and estrogen creates turn on. So this is a pattern. So if you have that pattern in the first stage, attraction, just know if you're leading with, my God, this guy turns me on, he's the wrong guy. He's the wrong guy. And to the extent that you keep having the wrong guy means that when you find the right guy, you won't be excited at all. And you'll think he must be the wrong guy.
And you're talking about physical attraction here. You're
Yes.
talking about sexual attraction here. And you're talking about women who've had a pattern of being disappointed again and again, or getting involved with quote unquote the wrong men because they've had maybe sex because of the attraction. They've had sex early on in the relationship because of a strong attraction. And then they find themselves thinking, what's wrong? What's wrong here? Why am I not having love come from these relationships?
Yeah, and it's very vulnerable. You've had sex with a guy and then he doesn't call you back. Your brain just is going to go into, what did I do wrong? What's wrong with me?
Mhm.
Just it's a confusing thing. So to avoid that, make sure you wait some time to make sure this guy earns his way in. And the guys that are the wrong guys won't take the time to earn his way in. Just to know
Right.
that.
So in other words, I think, John, and I want to make this really tangible for people listening, you're not saying that attraction's not important. You're saying if you've had these kinds of patterns of having sex early on in a relationship and then having guys disappear and that sort of thing, then you may be following the hormonal or the impulses that lead to sex above and beyond paying attention to who this guy is and how he's showing up and allowing him to have the chance to win you over, to
Yes.
establish a foundation for a relationship before the sex happens.
Okay, that was nicely said. Nicely said. But I really, if you get turned on sexually to somebody you don't know, he's not the right person for you.
Okay, so period. So women are screaming out there saying, but I want to be turned on. I want to be attracted to a guy.
Yeah, they're on their male side. See, guys have to be turned on right away. When I was a younger guy, well, when I met Bonnie, or my first wife, Barbara, we're married for 2 years, but it was role reversal. But then Bonnie she's more feminine, I'm more masculine. I had to win my way in, I had to woo her. And the first time I wooed her, I failed. She rejected me. So then I married the easy one, and I'm the wrong guy for her, and she was the wrong person for me. That ended. Then after I healed from that, and I kind of had a job now. I had making money again because I've been a celibate monk for 9 years. So, I wasn't really established in the world yet. Bonnie was smart. I want a man who can take care of me, who can
Right.
be. And anyway, so then I went back and I won her over. I pursued her. And clearly, she was somewhat attracted to me right away. That was happening. And clearly at that time in my life, I was the wrong man for her because I wasn't yet had a job. I wasn't anchored. We would have had the same problems I had in my relationship with Barbara because I'd be looking to the woman for too much approval. When guys get upset with you, women, it's because they don't feel you're approving of them. In some way, he'll say, no matter what I do, it can't make you happy. He's blaming you, but really what's going on, he's looking too much for you to be happy. Because, if I don't feel good about myself by my work I do and I put forth effort, then I'm looking for love. And so I'm looking for you to love me, even though I'm not loving myself through my own levels of success. So that's a dance that understanding men, when I go into a room and I see Bonnie or I saw Barbara, basically they're out of 15 women there. They're the ones that actually cause me to feel sexual arousal. So there's potential there. It doesn't mean they're the right person, but at least there's potential. You can be a woman and you feel nothing down there, but there could still be potential. You'd be attracted in your mind. You'd find that person to be interesting, curious, I want to get to know them. You don't know exactly what. There's like a mystery there, but there's an attraction, but it's not a sexual attraction. And then you would go on dates. And the way you do dating is they say, we're going into dating more. He pursues you a little bit. And sometimes men today, because their testosterone is so low and their estrogen is so high, they're like women, they're more empathetic. They can sense, they're more intuitive. And they can sense a woman who's sort of standoffish. And that's the one I'm attracted to, let's say. Well, then I feel like I'll be rejected by her because I have a greater intuitive sense. Historically, men have been kind of like whistling at women, making rude remarks to women coming on. They didn't have
Cat calls.
what was that? Cat calls?
I said cat calls.
And sometimes women who resented all that stuff, they get older and they kind of miss it. So a little back and forth there. But we want to be respectful. We want to be not crude or rude. But clearly, if a man's pursuing you, he is sexually attracted to you. That's the case for men. And a woman can confuse herself thinking, if I'm not sexually attracted to a man, he must be the wrong man for me. And if you do have that pattern, I want to emphasize that, of getting turned on right away to men who haven't even earned their way into you, and you don't know them personally and they don't know you. That's more important, that they know you and they're still turned on to you. There's a very funny movie where the older woman, now she's an older woman, she's more on her male side, so she's like, and she didn't have a husband, so she's attracted to this young guy. Okay, so she's attracted to this young guy. And he's like, okay, he wants to have sex with her, and she wants to have sex. And then, so he wants to talk to her first, because he's more a young guy, more on his female side. She's more on her male side. And so he's starting to talk. She says, don't speak. Don't speak. Because if he continued to speak, she'd be turned off. So that's what you want to test a man. You need to speak a lot and see if he can still be turned on to you. Because, then it becomes, you're no longer a fantasy woman, just someone he doesn't know. He needs to get to know you and still be turned on to you. And that's the test. So you want to be authentically you. And when I say authentic, that makes you most attractive if authentically you is also in touch with your need to have companionship, a man who can be there for you emotionally, who can support you. And that's a confusing message, because to be there for you emotionally is the guy that women often call a narcissist. These are guys who are not in touch with their feelings at all. They can be the best listeners that exists. They can be the most grounded people for you. Because what you need as a woman on her male side, you need somebody who won't get ruffled when you begin to reveal the emotional part of you, because it will come up, and you'll and the more you're on your male side, you're embarrassed by your female side, this vulnerability. Many women will say, oh, I cry at the drop of a hat. Other women, I never cry, or I only cry secretly in my room. You need to be able to show emotions and vulnerability, or just simply be vulnerable when you're with a man. And to be vulnerable is to have the message in your aura around you that you really are looking forward to having a man in your life. It's important to you, that you can't wait to be able to talk to somebody, have a companionship, a guy to make love with, a guy to be close with, a guy who gets to know you, a guy who can share your life, a guy who, even though you're tough and strong, who will protect you, who will be present for you. These are your emotional needs. And guys who are emotional can't give you that. The guys who are not emotional are the best to give you that. And I know that's not women's experience. I'm telling you, they're the guys who aren't going to be reactive. They're not going to get angry about stuff. They're not going to be super romantic and then ignore you after a while and leave. They're the guys that are more steady, not so much in touch with their emotions. But what you do is you want to recognize, if you want to be attractive to a man, you want to be in touch with your female side. The female side of you is emotions, positive emotions and negative emotions. And you have to be able to share that. But if you share negative emotions about a man, he'll just get defensive. But you can share negative emotions about other things, and he'll connect to you more. So that's the thing women don't know, is that men are connected by emergency. A fireman, he has testosterone goes up. There's an emergency. Somebody's in danger. Somebody's got a problem. Let me come to the rescue. So if you want a guy on a date, you want him to be more interested in you. You don't just try to be positive all the time, and you don't do any people pleasing. That's the worst thing you can do. You're giving to him as opposed to letting him give to you. And women go, but
This is so big. This is so big. So glad you're touching on this.
well, what was so big?
The give in allowing him to give to you instead of you trying to people please and give to him. Because I feel like, I mean, I know in my dating life, in my decades of dating, I know there were so many times that I did exactly what you said not to do. I tried to be totally positive all the time, go along to get along, not let him know any of my needs, try to impress him, try to please him, try to win him over instead of the opposite. I think this is huge.
It's so, so important for women to understand that men only bond with you when they provide something for you, as opposed to you providing anything for them. What you provide for a man is a positive response or an authentic response to him. And your authentic response is a loving person, but that loving person is vulnerable, which means during your day, you went to work today, you're on a date. What do you talk about? Okay, you don't have to be so positive. You can say, oh my gosh, today I had such a rough day. I was so frustrated because Sam, my boss or my employee, I asked him 3 times to do this thing. I ended up having to do it myself. It's such a disappointment when you put so much into somebody and they just fail you. And then pause for a moment and just say, sometimes I think I'm embarrassed. I hire the wrong people. But the truth is, he's not that bad. And the other day he did do this and it was really good. And the reality is I love my job and it's fantastic. And I'm so glad that I can do this and this and this. So what you did is a circle. The circle is you went from revealing some emotion, positive or negative, in that case, negative, but you came around to the other side with grateful to have my job, feeling good about it. Maybe he's the right guy, maybe he's not, but it's really not that big of a deal. Now, I want to emphasize that phrase. That's a magic $1,000,000 phrase. It's not that big of a deal. So what you did is you revealed emotion, which men, if you just reveal emotion, it will turn them off. Okay. Oh my God, another woman who just gets upset about stuff. I've been through that before. I don't want that. Because women don't have the discipline. They're not taught the discipline. If you're going to have a negative emotion, you need to also balance it with all these positive emotions. And also, if you're going to have a negative emotion, it shouldn't be about the man. It shouldn't be like, oh, he was late for dinner. You know, it hurts my feelings when you didn't call. Never say that. I'd take that word out of your vocabulary. It hurts. That will just turn a man off completely. You become super needy because actually the part of your brain that feels hurt, I'm not saying you shouldn't feel it when you feel it. Just don't tell him. This is something you talk to your girlfriend about, your therapist about, you journal to God about, but you let go of that hurt because whenever we're hurting, we're feeling we're not seen, we're not being heard, we're not being respected, whatever. And we think that if we share with someone that, you know, it hurts my feelings when you do that, you think that he's going to change. He's not, okay? He's going to get defensive because you say you hurt me. Everything in my man's genes is to not hurt you, but to protect you. And so you give him the message, he hurt you. And I know this, how do you ask him not to do that again? You know, it hurts. What you do is you have an art of how to communicate what you want and what you wish, and don't use negative emotion to justify asking. You can just simply say, oh, you know, I would have loved it had you called earlier because it was kind of frustrating to me to have to wait and not know what was going on. It's not a big deal. Magic phrase. When you say to a man, it's the opposite of what you think. Women think I can amp up my emotions and then a man will remember. No, a man will just forget you and push you away. You're just knocking out all his power. But when you say to him, you just have to try this. It's magic. You say, oh, would you be sure next time? I appreciate it if you did this. And it's not a big deal. Then he sticks in his brain and he remembers. And he's never heard a woman say that before. It's so powerful. Now, a woman would never think to do this. First of all, the whole tendency with emotions, if somebody steps on your foot once, you say, ow. If they step on your foot twice, you have to go, ow, ow. And then you get louder and louder, which is the worst communication skill, is to raise your voice to somebody. I mean, you don't want a guy raising his voice to you. You can't raise your voice to him. And there is a biological reality that when a woman experiences stress, there's levels of stress. There's high stress, women will detach. But at low stress, adrenaline levels, She'll have, as a biological reality for women, when adrenaline gets produced, they have 8 times more blood flow going to the emotional part of the brain. So the
Hmm.
emotions are there. And so there's amplification naturally. But for men, the amplification is the opposite. Under adrenaline, we have no emotion. We detach automatically. If why men like to drive fast, for example. Not to some women, they like to drive fast too. They're on their male side. They like the feeling of testosterone. But for a man, when he drives fast, all of his, a little adrenaline, competition, playing tennis, any sport, whatever, when he's in that sport, it frees him from taking things personally. It frees him from having too much emotion, negative emotion. He can detach. And all it takes is a little stress, and he can do that. Big stress, he'll become emotional. Matter of fact, under big stress, men become more emotional than women. That's fight or flight. That's arguing and fighting, or that is shutting down. And that happens not because men have testosterone. It happens because men's testosterone goes down and their estrogen levels are going too high. So the secret is, as you move from the dating stage, that's first stage, now you move into the relationship. In this case, let's say you're starting to get your needs met and you're thinking, wow, this feels pretty good. Where are we going with this? And then what a woman will do, and that's what I call the stage of uncertainty. Because
Right.
you go, okay, are we going further with this? This seems pretty good. What are we going to do? And as soon as you go into uncertainty, you as a woman, you want to talk about the relationship.
Because you
Let's
want to have it, you want to have it defined, right? You want to like know whether it's going to go somewhere or not.
Well, let's talk about a relationship, or am I the only one for you? Or are you seeing other people? Or do you care about me? Do you love me? It is sort of trying to sort of gauge what a woman is doing at that point of uncertainty, which anybody wants to do. I'm about to do a business venture. I want to look for reassurance that I'm doing the right thing, right? So she's in relationship is the most important wisdom for women that they bring to the world is the how good a relationship can be if there's commitment. So I want reassurance that that you're still with me, we're moving ahead, whatever it might be. She starts asking questions about, what is he feeling? Are you still attracted to me? What's going on? And you didn't call me last week. Are you still interested in me? Or why did you do that? It hurts when you don't do that, disastrous thing.
I
Uh,
know.
so this is the uncertainty stage. So what women will tend to do is they want to pursue him more, seeking reassurance. It can also be she just starts giving more, but generally she's going to start asking more questions and whatever at a time where he's also uncertain. And that's the worst thing, is to ask for reassurance at a time when a man is uncertain. I was just counseling a couple, and they've been estranged for 6 months, and now she's wanting him to come back, and he's wanting to come back, and so it's all good. And as soon as they're starting to come back, she says, "But he never said he really wants to make it work." And so I said, "I need you to have you tell her you really want it to make." And I always see men and women separately, because he'll resist. I have to overcome men's resistance. And he said, "Well, I'm not sure if I want it to work." I said, "Well, that's one part of you. That's the part of you that doesn't know. But is there a part of you that wants it to work?" "Well, yeah." "Okay, so she needs reassurance. You need to tell her, yes, I'm coming back to work with John. I want this to work." You don't have to say, "And I don't know if it can work." We already know. We know it don't. That's why we're going getting help. But men, the last thing he wants is when he's pulling away, for a woman to say, "Are you attracted to me? Are you still interested in me? Do you love me? Do you like me?" He's uncertain. And when he's uncertain, he can't give you that answer, which is, "I'm just needing some time. Of course, I love you. I like you, but I need some time." He doesn't always know how to say that. Men don't understand so much what's going on inside. I'm telling you what men do think inside. And if you said it like this, when I have more men buy my books, because it helps them understand what's going on inside. Biologically, what happens when a man starts to feel closer to a woman, his estrogen levels start to come up. I was mentioning before some research showing this, that as men get older, their estrogen levels their testosterone starts dropping, and their estrogen levels start getting higher and higher. Now, all men in their 50s and 60s, their estrogen could be even higher than a woman's. And that puts a lot of belly fat on them. You can see who's got the estrogen levels off the chart and low testosterone by belly fat. And it inhibits testosterone production. But it's happening as his testosterone is going down. But let's take a case of a 45-year-old man.
Okay.
in that case of a 45-year-old man, already it's now 25% less on average. Okay, from the 20s to the 30s to 45s, that'd be like 25% lower. It's a drop. His momentum, his desire, which is reflected in statistics. Men over 40, half of the men over 40 have used Viagra. They needed a pill. You know,
Mm-hmm.
my wife always says to me, "Are you sure you're not taking medicine?" It's you, honey. It's you.
It's you, honey. Oh, you're saying the right words there.
Yeah, right. It's you. And, at 73 years old, my testosterone is 50% higher than when I was a young man. Okay. I'm the exception because I understand polarity. I understand how to make all this work. Most men just don't know. So, anyway, and what a man at 40 will do when he's not getting erections with his partner, he'll go online and have an erection with porn, and that will lower his testosterone even more. But there's something else that lowers his testosterone. And that is in the category of a 45-year-old man. It could be the 35-year-old man, could be the 40. It's a consistent what I'm about to say. So a 45-year-old man, who has the highest testosterone in that group? The single man. Who has the next drop down highest? Is the man in a committed relationship. When does it drop again? The married man. So compared to a single man and a married man, on average, the single man will have much more testosterone for that age category than the married man. The married man, compare him to the next level, is the married man with children. He will have the next lowest testosterone, which is back when, it was back women were saying a man with a belly is attractive because he's the fathering type, because that's what happens as men start getting this belly. As their estrogen goes up, their testosterone goes down. But there's a lot of symptoms that happen when that happens. Men become more grumpy, they become more irritable, they procrastinate more, they become a little lazy or a lot lazy, or in order to feel alive, they have addictions. This is all the problem is a lifestyle in a man that doesn't promote testosterone, too much estrogen. But and then the next level, if he's still alive, is the man with grandchildren. And the truth is, here I'm with my high testosterone levels. When I'm with my granddaughter, I was actually with my granddaughter today for an hour going for a walk. But if I spend like 3 or 4 hours there with my granddaughter, just all I feel is they're so beautiful. There's so much love, all that love. My estrogen levels are going off the chart. It pushes a man's testosterone levels down. And I would usually, when I go over there for 4 hours, I'll come home and I need to take a nap. Okay, I need to recover to rebuild my testosterone. But today I didn't need much time to recover. It was just an hour, but also I went straight into my work. Work is what allows men to pump up testosterone. And it's not about my wife building. My wife just increases my testosterone by my already feeling good. And now I can help her feel even better. And the ideal relationship is a woman knows how to feel good, but still needs her husband to feel better, to feel higher, to feel more loved. And that's a special relationship. Commitment, you're number one. Every man needs to feel number one in his field, whatever he can do. Even if I'm the best plumber in West LA, it's just like I'm number one. And a woman, I'm number one. That's commitment. And men have to see, I give examples for men to understand this. Just like you want to feel number one, that's when it comes to your confidence. Women need to feel number one in terms of I am the one he loves the most. I'm special. I'm number one. And we have to demonstrate those things. Men don't know this. See, this is so back to the way men think and feel. What a man does in the beginning, I'll come back to our thinking. What we'll do in the dating stage up to the uncertainty stage is we'll be very motivated to do stuff. Okay, we're motivated to do stuff. And we're just doing little stuff. In our minds, we're not doing big stuff like sharing our whole income with you, giving up all other potential women, committing our life to you, signing the contract. That's the big stuff in a man's mind. This little stuff is I'm just testing to see, does it work? What men don't know is that little stuff is what it takes to continue her feeling like she's in love with you and wants to have sex with you. Okay, so you got to do all the little stuff to keep her estrogen up. But you also have to we marry her. That's like the doorway that says, now if you do little things, it will have a big effect. But in the dating, men are thinking, oh, I'm doing little stuff. She's happy about that. So, wow, she's a perfect person because I don't have to do much to make her happy. But then you get married, he stops that stuff because in his mind, he thinks I'm doing the big stuff now. And that's in the dating thing, but that's also some of these men who make a lot of money. They're just awful to women uh, because they think because I make money and I can buy you fancy things that you're going to be happy. And I know some women would go, I would be happy. If you see what happens with men, they take testosterone, they get muscles and then they get man boobs. See, that's because when you get too much testosterone, your estrogen, it converts into estrogen. So it's never all the bad behavior of men doesn't come from testosterone. It comes from low testosterone and too much estrogen. So this gives us an indication, women, of to understand the way a man's thinking is whenever he thinks he's helping, when you need his help, his testosterone goes up. Then he gets closer to you. That stage, now stage 2 comes, he's thinking about making a commitment. When he's thinking about making a commitment, he will pull away. He's doubting now. So he's pulling away. Doesn't mean he doesn't love you. It's like, am I going to, invest in this relationship? Or where's this going to go? But it's not even just the logic of this. It's pure biology. If a man it gets to in the first stage of attraction and you're spending time together, enjoying each other, there's a place where he thinks maybe you're the one. He wants to attach to you more. That's because his estrogen goes really, really high. He's feeling love. And when he feels love, that's estrogen. Well, that knocks his testosterone down, and men need to pull away in order to rebuild testosterone. Like the guy who needed to go fishing to find himself again, go hang out with the guys and go fishing and not having women around, his testosterone levels can restore. This is the whole theme of men are from Mars, women are from Venus, is men need cave time. They need time away from their partner. Time with your partner, with your family, raises estrogen. So already you need to have your high testosterone. So it's just balancing out. But when a man works, I work, but I also can become exhausted and tired. I use up my testosterone. It's sort of ironic. We make it at work, but we also use it up. And so we need to replenish. Like, for example, a guy who lifts weights, okay, he has to have muscles to make testosterone, but lifting the weights, he runs out of testosterone. He needs to now recover. And the recovery time is he can't over-exercise. If he over-exercises, he will have zero testosterone. And I've had men who, very commonly, men who have a lot of muscles don't get erections with their wives. It's because they just don't have enough testosterone left because they used all their testosterone to make the muscles. So I have to tell them you have to train less and you have to make sure that you don't do porn, because a lot of times when you're not turned on to your wife, it's basically your testosterone is too low, but it's easy for men to get turned on to a stranger. Now that's, it's kind of paradoxical for a woman, because you're going to get turned on if you have healthy self-esteem. A man wins you over, you love him, now you open your heart to him. If your heart's closed, you don't want to have sex with him. But for a man, fantasy is a big testosterone booster, and it's unhealthy. It's an unhealthy thing. But the more you get turned on by fantasy, then reality doesn't turn you on. We just know digital stimulation is more addictive than reading a book, for example. It's the, this is on one level, this is not real. Okay, this is just a screen. I'm not really here. You're not really there. And so, and then add to it that the porn is these people are faking it all the time as well. They're just doing it for the money. There's no love for you. They don't know you. They don't care about you. But ironically, that produces no estrogen in a man. Remember, estrogen can hold too much estrogen, pushes testosterone down. So if I'm with a new woman or a fake woman or a computer woman or a computer machine, or if I, heavens forbid, I'm doing it on Meta, this 3-dimensional, 4-dimensional experience, this produces so much dopamine that a real woman will never be able to turn him on again. That's what goes on. You have to go through, it's the same concept of going on cocaine. Now you go off of cocaine, you have to go through the withdrawal, a lot of suffering, a lot of boredom, nothing turns you on at all for life. But the receptor sites can come back. But if you have extra nutrition and support, it can come back faster, which is why I started getting into nutrition and biohacking and all these things. And kind of what I'm talking about now is biohacking love. Although you want me to talk about dating, so I have to squeeze a little biohacking in there, which is that if a man says to you, I'm going to take you on a date. Hey, let's go out sometime. And you say, yeah, sure, that sounds good. And then he says, where would you like to go? And you say, well, where would you like to go? Boom, you're people pleasing. Never can be concerned about where he wants to go. have a ready answer. Have a ready answer, which is, he said, well, what would you like to do? I mean, what do you like to do? Well, I like to play tennis or pickleball. I like walks. There's this favorite walk in Mill Valley Canyon. And, I like Chinese restaurants. And you pick. That's the key to this. You give him 3 options and you say, you pick. And now already he's invested in doing something for you that you would like, but you're not telling him what to do, because men don't want to be.
And he knows whichever one he picks you're going to like.
That's right. It's a win for me. I already assured that, there's big, how do I impress her? What do I have to do? You let him know. And you're not people pleasing him. You're creating an opportunity for him to please you. It's always about the opportunity to please you. So, and that's kind of instead of like being a wallflower and letting a man do everything, well, we want to be balanced, both masculine and feminine. The masculine side of you is using strategy to allow him to be the man, but you're actually being very masculine by having, all right, I got 3 things that will make me happy. Which do you pick? So that's a strategy which allows him to take the lead and you to just enjoy, and you will enjoy more because you also don't feel the pressure of him having a good time. You see, that's the other side. He's assured that he's going to be successful, and she doesn't have to worry, is he going to like what I picked? Because you gave him 3 things and he chose from them. And so that's the tendency of don't be a people pleaser. Realize, and when he go to dinner, you might make more money than him. You say, well, let me pay for dinner. People pleasing again. You want to give him the opportunity to do something for you, which is he pays for the bill. And if he does, if he says, do you want to split? You say, well, I'm kind of an old-fashioned girl and I like a man to pay. And he might be foolish enough to say, well, you make more money than me. I say, no, but it feels really good. It feels really good when a man takes care of his woman. And you just have to set them straight. Some men are afraid to be chauvinistic and open your car door, as opposed to, if you're on a date, stand by the door and smile. See, you want that door open for you, as opposed to rushing to the door and opening it. Any opportunity you have to have a man do something for you, just allow him to do it. And so many times women are so eager to go, oh, I can do that, or I'll do that, or I'll help you this way, or we'll do this. No, men will bond with you when they do things for you. So when you go through this uncertainty stage, it's really because the estrogen goes so high, he will naturally pull away. And if you pursue him when he's pulling away, he'll just keep pulling away further. And that's called the rubber band theory that, we've done lots of videos on that one. And so he's not going to have a chance to miss you and spring back. Biologically speaking, he's not going to have a chance for his estrogen levels to go back down because he's not connecting to a child or a woman. He's got his work, he's pulling back, or he has his hobbies, and he pulls away like a rubber band, and then he'll miss you, and then he'll have the experience of, oh, I wasn't really that excited about her, but now I am. See, this is a reality that people have, particularly men. Out of sight, out of mind, and then suddenly he gets horny, okay? And then he starts thinking about you. That's what, it's always going to be sex. Men will not always admit it because women will think that's a low-level thing. It's the biology of men, and you learn to be respectful and not be direct about it. But at the same time, you might find a man, he's a catch, and he's feeling the pressure. He should have sex on the first date or the second date, which I don't recommend. But he negotiates with you. He'll say, oh, well, don't you feel this? Oh, yeah, I feel really good with you. And well, then let's do it. Why not? Why are you so old-fashioned? You just say to him, it's a clear boundary that doesn't put him off. And the boundary is, oh, yes, every cell in my body feels it too. I just know what works for me is to go slow, and then it will be even better. Oh, no, let's just do now. Really, it will be so much better. Well, when do you think? I'm just taking the worst case scenario. It was a date, He says, I don't know, but what I do know, it's going to be great. I just need to take time, and I'll let you know. That's another thing. You don't have to be in a mystery. I'll let you know. Ironically, his ego has been fulfilled. Okay. 90% of a man's feeling great about sex is that you want to have sex with him. That's the victory, is that she wants to have sex with me. And then you have sex. Okay, that's a good experience, whatever. But it's feeling that a woman is wanting me. And more so, her desire for me came from feeling she has what she needs with me. So this is, a whole women's physiology and so forth is when you're on your male side, you're going to be less attractive to a man. When you go to your female side and you're not needy, then you're going to be most attractive to a man. So now you've gotten to the uncertainty stage. He's pulled away, he comes back, and when he comes back, you don't slap his hand for not calling you or whatever. What can you do while he's pulled away? These are all inventions from my daughter Lauren in her class, since we're talking about men, calling Understanding Men, an amazing class at MarsVenus.com. But one of the things she has women do is if he's not calling back, don't just do nothing. Instead, go about your life, be happy, don't be needy. So you're not coming from a needy place. You're a happy woman, but it'd be happier with the man. So you just imagine in your mind that he called you up and he said, "Hey, tell me about your day." And what would your answer be? And you send him a text with the answer to that question. Just simply, "Oh," you write a text, you say, "Today I had bagels at a new restaurant in my town, and they had a cappuccino that was out of this world. It was like the room was filled with rainbows." That's it. What you do is give a real life thing and embellish it with, "And I'm a happy woman, I have a great life." And women wouldn't think to do this because let's say she wasn't talking to me and then we'd had a conversation and she says, "Well, how's your day?" "I had the best day of my week. I mean, it's amazing not being with you."
That's amazing not being with you.
I'm so happy when you're not around me. You wouldn't do that. So you're not thinking that your happiness is actually going to make him be more attracted to you. And you could do that a couple of times in a week, not more, just a couple of times in a week. Do that for a few weeks and then taper off. And then it means it'd be next, you put in the best effort. But a lot of men, the way they think is they're attracted, particularly if they have sex, then they're going to lose interest. And if they do a lot of sex with you, they really lose interest. And then they're going to feel guilty because women always say, "You didn't call me. Where have you been? You disappeared. You ghosted me."
Do you really want to hurt me?
Yeah, do you really want to hurt me? So he's been through that one before, right? That's
Right.
happened before. So now he's just going to go, "Oh, I can't call her. I feel too guilty. I don't want to hear any of that. I don't want to be told I was bad." And yet that same guy, if he got a few little friendly notes, will go, "Oh my gosh, first of all, she's not mad at me for not calling her. She's not needy. She's not demanding. She's a happy woman. And if I call her, I'm not in trouble. Well, then I can call her up again." Because it takes time for men to bond with a woman. And if he has sex too soon or they have too much emotional connection too soon, he's going to have to pull away. This is all the way through marriage as well. Men, when they get really close, if I go on a weekend with my partner, have sex 6 times or something, I'm done with sex for a good week. I'm busy working. I'm not thinking about her. I'm not thinking about anything. I'm satisfied man. It's like having a meal, very satisfying. You don't think about it afterwards. But when women bond that much, what happens is attachment happens, and then they want to feel more connection. And that would become overly needy. And so men have this nice fail-safe for women to keep you from being over needy, is we'll naturally just back off for a while, giving you space to find things that make you happy. And it took a while for my wife to figure that out. But there's this one time where, I've had so many rejections and my road to success. But, ironically, while I was #1 of all books for 5 years in America, every week, #1 biggest selling book, I never received a positive print interview. Never.
Really? Are you kidding?
Yeah, I'm not kidding at all. I've never received a positive print interview during that time. Now I get some occasionally. It's kind of like I'm a legend, I wrote, people have softened, but I don't get that many articles either. But during that time, everything was pushing me down. He's a sexist. He's not an authority. His ideas are old traditional. Who is he to say these things? How can he talk about what women need? Just a bunch of negativity, kind of what you see now on the internet, how people can just spew negativity. But what in people's alive is, I had my infomercial, people got to hear me talk, and TV shows love me. I was on Oprah, had me 18 times, Today Show maybe 20 times, CBS This Morning, because I'm a friendly face, and it's a feel good conversation, and you're not dealing with writers who are jealous of me being the #1 best-selling author in the world.
Mhm.
Jealousy that comes out along with this whole narrative of men and women are the same, which is nonsense. And if you are a woman who's seeking help, coaching, and so forth, you want to go to Michelle, because Michelle understands that men and women are different. If you go to a counselor who does not get it very clearly that men and women are different, you will always get the wrong advice. Just put it that way. If you're looking for advice to have a better relationship, it needs to be somebody who understands that women, you want to give them different advice. You want to give men different advice based upon their different needs and perspectives. Just to give women a map of clearly breaking it down in simple terms, men are turned on to women when whatever the interaction is in the relationship, it raises his testosterone. Then he will feel more bonding with her. And when you're with a woman, when you raise her estrogen, she will bond with you. So this is the bonding aspect. And we look at the biology also. If women's estrogen is low, they're stressed. If a man's testosterone is low, he's stressed. It goes up, stress goes away. For a woman, estrogen goes up, stress goes away. And what is the most bonding experience, of course, is a woman's orgasm. For her, massive amounts of estrogen. For men, after orgasm, he has to detach. He has to pull away. We're just the opposite. She's ready to hug more. For most men, they'll pull away. Some men just happen to be a little different from most men, and they'll feel her pulling away, and then they'll want to get close. So there are men that do like to cuddle a lot, and their wives will tell me that's too much, too much. So we want to connect. If a woman pulls away, which is detaches, a man will then go to his female side to connect. And this is what happens for women are more in the independent, is they get these men and then they say, I feel like I'm his mother. I feel like he's needy. And that's because you stay grounded in your male side. He wants to connect with you. And the only way to connect is by going to his female side, because this is the opposites come together, not sameness. So polarity is what allows you to maintain attraction. So once you're having sex, now you're in a committed relationship. I'm going through the stages. I'll quickly go through them. The next stage is commitment. The next stage is deep intimacy. And next stage is proposal. Next stage is marriage. Okay, so I won't be able to go deep into each one. We have a time limit. But this commitment, again, what happens when a man says, yes, you're the only one for me. I'm committed in this relationship. That is a prerequisite for women to go to higher levels of estrogen. You need to have that safety. Safety is the hormone oxytocin, which has been shown to lower women's stress levels. But safety is the foundation for a woman to depend on a man more, to say, I'm looking to you to make me feel even better than I can feel on my own. And that's what a man can do. He can help a woman go from really good to great. And if I can help you go from good to great, then I just went from good to great myself. Not you doing it to me. It's you giving me the opportunity to take you higher. Always that polarity has to be there if you want to thrive in a relationship. Well, this is where the polarity goes wrong. Okay, so now he's made the commitment. That's a very masculine thing to do. She's like feeling, oh, good, or I can depend on him. Her estrogen levels go up. But the problem is for men is once they make that commitment, there's a feeling of, okay, I've done it. Mission accomplished. And after mission is accomplished, I get to go on vacation. I did my day of work and now I can go rest. I don't have to do much. I'm going to do the big stuff. I'm committed to her. I'm thinking about marrying her maybe. So that's the big stuff. So if I'm doing the big stuff, I don't have to do the little stuff, because he doesn't understand how powerful the little stuff is. And that's illuminated in one of the most popular concepts in Men Are From Mars, which you're familiar with, is on Venus, every act of love, big or small, has the same effect. It's an act of love. And we put it in hormonal terms. I can bring her 50 roses. She's going to get a little surge of estrogen. Ooh, that feels good. I can bring her 3 roses, 1 rose, and she's going to have the same surge of estrogen. So that's the concept men have to understand, is that bigger is not always better. It's bigger is good occasionally, but better is lots of little things and occasionally a big thing. That's something men don't understand, because you don't get paid in a business for doing a lot of little things. You get paid for doing the big stuff. And women fall in love with you because you can do big stuff. But then men don't realize to keep it, you have to keep doing those little things that you did in the beginning. And you can do it better and easier. And that's what I'm teaching men to do. But so, buddy, when we're talking about what are men thinking? So what he's thinking is, all right, now I don't have to do much anymore to get your love. And you'll sense that he's doing less. And as a woman, you will make the mistake of thinking, oh, if I just give him more, I will get more back. So you go into this phase of trying to make the relationship better by giving more support to him for whatever he's doing or not doing. And that does not cause him to bond with you. What ends up happening is you end up feeling I'm giving more and getting less, and then you will feel some resentment. And when you feel resentment, it sucks all the energy out of a man. Okay? The opposite of resentment is appreciation and gratitude. When you're feeling appreciation for a man, his testosterone goes up. If you're resenting a man, his testosterone goes down. And it already went down because he achieved his goal, and now it's time to rest and have a vacation. It's his cave time in a sense. So what women have to learn at that time is not to assume that the momentum, his motivation to please you will be the same, but it's still there in potential form, and the seed is there. What you have to do is water that seed, and you water that seed by asking for things. So practicing not overgiving, not trying to please him, but starting to ask him to do things for you and be appreciative. That would be one of the hacks. For married couples to keeping the passion. There's all kinds of hacks I give, but one is just simply every day you raise your hand, which says, I'm going to make a request that's less than 5 minutes. And if you discuss this, you say, as a woman, I'm on my male side. I need more estrogen. It's now proven. I read this book, John Gray. What turns out that if I can ask you to do something little, less than 5 minutes, and you have an immediate response, like, I said, the house is on fire, and you say, I'll fix it. I'll do it. I'm happy to do it. I'm glad to do it. I'll do it right away. If you have that little response, and it's only going to take 5 minutes. So it could be, would you get my oil and massage my feet? Yes, right away. And you run to do it. Any man will have, even if he's tired and you tell him it's only 5 minutes and it's going to be great foreplay, which is raising estrogen. Once he understands that, I've never met a man who's not happy to do it. Not happy to do it. But she has to ask. Some men say, I'm always doing stuff for her. I said, well, then you're not going to get much credit for that because you're already doing it. This is something that she normally doesn't ask you to do. It's something that she could do for herself, but she doesn't have to do because you're glad and happy to do it for her. And so you're asking. Asking is the biggest estrogen stimulator because you're acknowledging, I need your help. And what do you need his help for when you ask him to give you a foot massage or make you a cup of tea or clean up the kitchen or empty the trash or remove the ladder from the garage, whatever it was, whatever little activity you have him do that you were going to do anyway for yourself, you ask him to do it. And he has an immediate response. Like almost every night, my wife says, oh, John, already I'm tucked into bed, ready to go to sleep. She says, John, would you get some warm water for me? I'm thirsty. I don't know if she, but I understand it's a little request. It takes less than 5 minutes. So immediately I have the energy to do it because I know it has such an impact on a woman when a man does a little thing for her if she asks for it. It's very, very key. It's understanding men just don't know to do that stuff, but you train them by asking them to do little things, and then you appreciate it. And he starts to learn that, wow, I can get a lot of love for her without spending a lot of energy. It's just a very short, quick thing. Men are always conserving energy. We have a gene that basically says, never do anything you don't have to do. That's it. If I don't have to do it, I'm not going to do it. I don't have the energy for it. I'll wait for the emergency. We're the emergency workers. We always have been. We stand guard, ready to fight our battle, using no energy, keeping our energy intact. Women are not designed that way. Their brains never turn off. Their body, if they're actually relaxed, which is women used to be relaxed, they have 20 times more energy than a man because you have 20% more but actually the burning of fat actually gives you're born with more fat. You have more fat when your estrogen goes up. And that fat, if you're relaxed, oxytocin is produced, you'll burn that fat producing 20 times more energy than sugar or than your muscle mass. So you have the potential to have unlimited energy. So you have always worked 24 hours. Okay, raising children in a family, just like your brain doesn't turn off. Research shows women's brains don't turn off. Harvard did a study showing women sit down, relax with electrodes on their head. Brain activity speeds up. Ask her, what are you thinking? All the things I should be doing that I'm not doing because I'm sitting here doing the experiment. Your mind just doesn't stop. Man's brain puts same electrodes on, brain activity dramatically reduces. And you say, what are you thinking? Nothing. We have different set of genes. Actually, we have all of your genes. About 3 weeks old, we get these 23 genes from the Y chromosome, and their function is to override our certain female genes inside of us. So there's a female gene inside of us that makes vaginas. Instead, it goes the other direction, makes a penis. Another gene that will say to the brain, you have to be on all the time. Well, we have a gene that says, if you work hard, you need to forget the day in order to reduce stress so you have energy for the next day. You can't be working all the time because your job usually was during the daytime, where women's job is at night and day throughout all. And babies are always needing your attention. If your body that can make babies, you have the equipment to do it. But if you're stressed, you don't have the equipment to do it. That's the problem. So it's a big problem today as women are on their male side and how to be attractive to a man. And then the other side of it is how to be attractive where a man is attracted to you, but how to be attracted to men. That's what I hear the most of women in their 40s is
and beyond. Yeah.
I just can't, there's no magic there. There's no juice there, and then there's a few women who say, I want a man who'll sweep me off my feet, who's strong and powerful and all this stuff. And it's true. If I have a masculine man, it will help me feel more feminine. But that's your own job. If you want to have a successful relationship, you have to start learning on your own how to be more feminine, learning how to raise your estrogen levels, how to use a man when you're dating to increase your estrogen. So we've covered a few of those things, like being a people pleaser, not trying to give more than you're getting, not pursue a man, not if you're turned on to a man, don't run after him. And the flip side of that is be open to the men who approach you, even if you're not turned on to them. And use them as educational. They may not be the right person, but you want to create a series of dating experiences. Do not wait around letting time pass without dating men. If your goal is to date men, start with what you get. Don't marry them, but practice these new skills and have a good time instead of having it be horrible, because it's horrible if you're trying to find the right person. It's just failure one after another. It can be success because you're using him to get in touch with your female side. So I'm just learning how to be feminine with a man. And if you were to come to my house and see my house, you'd see that beautiful house. But if you were to want to buy the house, you would actually hire somebody to see what's wrong with the house. And that's what happens
Right.
when you're looking to buy a man, so to speak. Is this the right man to spend the rest of my life with? Do I want to get naked with him? You don't have to get naked with every man you date. And you don't have to marry them. You're having a practicing giving a man the opportunity to do nice things for you. And when you let him do nice things for you, there's a tendency in women when they don't understand men are different. Women are very ruled by a hormone or by a gene that says reciprocity. If you do something for me, I'm obligated to do something for you. I want to do something for you. If I don't do something for you, I'll feel guilty, right? So if you understood that when a man does something for you, you are doing something for him by enjoying what he provided for you. Reciprocity has occurred. He gave you something, you gave him something by giving him the opportunity to give to you, and you appreciate what he gave. There's research actually shows that men's stress levels dramatically drop after 3 minutes being in the presence of a happy woman. It's a huge gift. We cannot access that ourselves. We depend on women because remember, our happiness genes are overridden. Women have all this, whenever you're happy, estrogen's going up, and we have blocks to it. Testosterone, it inhibits our estrogen, and it's through women that we get turned on to life. Women turn us on. But we have to provide the right support for a woman to respond to us with appreciation. So whenever you're appreciating a man, his testosterone goes up. When you're respecting a woman, honoring her, her estrogen goes up. And so I want a woman to appreciate me. I'm going to respect her, and the response will be, she will appreciate me. So as a man, I earn it. For a woman, you ask for it. You already deserve it. If a man's pursuing you, done. He's interested in you. All you have to do is keep asking and learning how to ask and the right ways to ask. We talked about a few of those things, asking for what you want.
And don't you think for women, especially women that have been maybe on their own for a long time, these strong, independent women, maybe postmenopausal, the the hormone levels, estrogen have gone down. I think a starting point here is beginning to really get in touch with your own needs. And because I think we can get out of touch with our own needs. We become so used to just kind of suppressing them and doing everything by ourselves and not feeling like we can ask for help or that we have access for support.
Look, the reality is women are way more confident than men in many, many ways. And so women often say to me, well, why should I ask? I can do it better myself. Or why should I ask and have him grumble at me? Like, why do I have to do this? It's just easier to ask. It's easier to ask. But, this is your challenge as women, is to learn how to ask, just like it's a man's challenge to learn how to give without resisting it, without grumbling. And there's a lot of ways we can learn to do this. I was just flipping through this book. It happened to be in front of me today, but probably I'm not going to find it. Oh, here it is. I found it. Why do women need men? Let me just read this list. It's good to be aware of this because women are like, what do I need a man for? She needs a man for romantic companionship. There's nothing more powerful to knock your estrogen levels up, lower stress, and increase your lifespan. It's proven that married people, men and women, live longer and have less disease. So she needs a romantic companion. Okay. 2, she needs a man to be faithful. When you have a faithful man, you have commitment. So you learn how to keep a man faithful. He has to be sexually satisfied, period. If you want a man.
Well, and you know what, John, one really quick thing about that is sometimes women get frustrated about men and the fact that they're driven by their sex drive. And I say to women, look, for most women and for most men, you want someone who's sexually attracted to you. So don't make him wrong or bad in the beginning because he's sexually attracted to you, because in a long-term relationship, that's part of what makes that kind of relationship distinct and different from other kinds of relationships.
That's the number one thing. I mean, you don't have sex with anyone else. That's what it's about. But here's what men don't know. Men don't know why they need sex. What I teach men is that the reason we need sex is because we are limited in our ability to feel love. This is why women often don't get married right away or anything, or don't seek out a sexual companion, because they can love for their children, they can love the trees, they can love the food, they can love friends, they can love their government, whatever it is, they can love the planet, they become an activist, whatever it is, they can feel this love for something. Men primarily feel love when it's romantic love. And then you have children, you can always feel love for your children. But that's when love really starts to blossom inside of a man, because he's getting close to a woman and a woman is opening up to him. That's through women we experience love, and through sex, we can begin to feel more. So if I'm eating ice cream, which is a lot of sugar and it's very pleasurable, I can feel, oh, I love ice cream. It's easy to say I love ice cream because it has so much sugar and makes you feel good. So the point of sex, it makes you feel good. But what do you do with the feel good? Is now you look with your feelings to find the part of you that loves your partner and expresses that love. That's why we want sex. We need sex to connect with the love part of our soul. And that's a soulmate, awakens us to fullness, to experience the love that's in our soul, not just the masculine side, but the feminine side of us. So through making love, we're able to feel love and then to express love. This is like, I call it enlightened sexuality, is become conscious that I'm only going for the pleasure here with my wife, because with pleasure, I can feel more, and with feeling more, I can express more. And when women are experiencing sex, they can also, usually they have to feel more first before they can be turned on. They have to feel safe. They have to feel I can depend on him. I'll be loved by him. He's not going to judge me. And I feel supported by him. Then her estrogen levels start building up. Then she can go to her male side and experience the pleasure of sex, along with, to the point of feeling more love. And also, it's really the whole beautiful thing about it, because a man can feel more, it allows a woman's estrogen levels to go even higher, because he becomes safer when he's feeling more. And that's the secret, is using sex to feel more and express that. And that's a whole class. And men have to, they don't know any of that. They just think, I'm horny, I want to have sex. But there's a real reason why we hunger for it, why you can break up with a girlfriend or get married and you're on one of those social media things right away. You need sex. And it's just like women need love. Women buy all of the 90% of the relationships, right? are women buying that, generally speaking. Men from Mars is an exception. More men buy it than women because it also treats men quite fairly, as opposed to trying to feminize men, helping women understand and appreciate what men can offer. We're not girlfriends, but we
Yeah.
have what you're missing from a girlfriend. So
I'm so glad you shared that. I interrupted your list though.
oh, that's
Sorry
okay.
about
It was good. She needs a man for simple companionship. She doesn't want to come home to a big, beautiful, empty house or apartment. She needs a man for financial backup, someone who could support her if she couldn't work. These are all deep, deep needs. I need a man around because she feels safer. Two people are twice as good as one. It's just you got to have somebody to call the police. You got to
that.
somebody there. She needs to have a partner to share fun times with. What's fun alone? I just see people living in illusion. Oh, I went on vacation all by myself. I feel so good. It may feel good if you're overly dependent. Now you have some time to be independent, but it's not fullness. It's a wonderful thing that we're born to have relationships. We're social beings. She needs a partner to share with who cares about her well-being. I care, as opposed to nobody really cares about me. She needs a partner who misses her when he's away. She needs a partner to help raise the family if they have children. Trying to raise children without a man, it's a tough thing. It's tough. She needs a partner if she doesn't want to have children alone. What does that one mean? If she gets IVF,
Yeah, single woman having a baby. Yeah.
She needs a partner to have a family. She needs a partner to share the responsibilities of caring for the nest, to help around. There's one of these things in here. I have a list of 150 things that men do that women don't realize we do. It would be like if the TV set's not working, who calls Comcast and sets it all up 2 hours to get them to do anything? Who's going to talk to the carpenter when sheetrock broke, when there's a leak somewhere? You call him, all these handyman jobs. If there's disputes in the neighborhood, who's going to go complain to the neighbor? It's going to be me. If there's a lawsuit against us, who's going to manage the lawsuit of it? People attacking me? It's going to be me. I'm not going to say, honey, you handle the lawyer, or you handle the neighbor, or, any kind of catastrophe that happens. And we're not even aware of it as men, but I just said, what were the last 3 months of things I did for my wife? And this might even page open to that. No, that's not the page. But this is another book where I talk all about that's why Mars and Venus collide, is that women end up feeling a man does nothing. And men do so much that gets put in the box of, well, he's the man, he should do that. And then women are just looking at the help they need. And yes, women do need more help today than all the things men typically do. But how do you get that help? Don't assume he's just going to do it. Learn how to ask for it and get rewards for it. This is the whole thing of realizing he's going to do a little bit more because he loves you. And she needs a partner to fix things when they break. She doesn't want to do her own plumbing anymore. Why do your own plumbing? I see these women carrying the trash out to their lawns. They much prefer having a man do that for them who doesn't complain about it, who doesn't whine about it. That's the great thing about men. We don't say, oh, I did this, and oh, I did this, and oh, I did this, and you're not doing enough for me. You don't get that from a man. Now, you are getting it more and more today as men are more feminized. And when a man does that, you don't want to listen for very long. Don't encourage that kind of behavior. That's another thing for dating women to know, is that if a man's talking about his feelings, show a little interest and change the subject. Don't encourage it. And on dating, don't ask a lot of questions of what he's feeling. Don't even ever ask that question. It should always be, well, what do you think about that? What do you think about that? And then when he does say what he thinks about that, you say, that's very interesting. Or you say, oh, that makes sense. Or, oh, what a good idea. I hadn't thought of that. You don't ask a man what he's feeling. If you you're just encouraging him to go to his female side, and he'll do whatever you want him to do. But it's not healthy for men to do that. I know that's so controversial to say. Certainly you want to hear his feelings when they're loving and positive. Absolutely. But if they're not loving and positive, what you get is these men who come home and they just complain about their job, and a woman can't hear that. She needs to feel stability in the man. So these women who, again, I talked about women not being attracted to the men that they get. It's just, it doesn't spark the passion. That passion is her job. See, she thinks it's his job. She's got to connect with that vulnerable part of her. And so all of my books explain the process of emotional processing, how to process your emotions, because emotions are the most important thing for raising your estrogen. And when you're a male, on your male side, you rationalize everything. Well, nothing I can do about that. Well, that's the way life is. Well, life sucks sometimes, or hey, nothing I can do about it now, so forget it. This is how men inappropriately deal with emotions. Because whenever you do those rationalizations, minimizing, no big deal, can't do anything about it, forget it, deal with it tomorrow. Well, there's nothing I can do, so that's the way it is. That's our male side, and that produces testosterone. And we have this foolish idea that men have to process things the way women do, because the way women, they have to talk, they have to share, they have to be heard. Their estrogen goes up, their stress level goes down. We don't. If we talk about our feelings, our estrogen goes up, our stress goes up. It doesn't resolve anything. And people, well, you didn't talk about your feelings. I don't need to. I just have to go out and play tennis, or I need to go play a video game, which, by the way, that can be too addictive. So there's some cave activities that are not that great. You can go do porn, you'll feel good right away, but then you'll crash, your testosterone goes down, your estrogen goes up later. But you watch some news, I watch the news, that's great. Too much news, not good. I can get addicted to that. So anything that it can be a cave time activity, too much of it can become an addiction. So there has to be moderation with that. And so you're with a guy and he's doing a lot of cave activity. You don't say, hey, you shouldn't do that. You say, hey, when you get a chance, I need your help. And he says, well, what is it? Oh, when you get a chance. No, not right now. Don't be demanding about it. And then, well, what help do you want? So, I'll let you know. Let it be a mystery. Then he'll say, okay, what is it now? I said, only take about 10 minutes. Okay, what is it? Always give men time limits. Next thing is, I just want to talk about my day and just have your full attention. You don't have to say anything, do anything. I'm going to talk about some things. And then you talk about some things, because you have to talk to be seen, to be heard, for your estrogen levels to go up. I don't need to talk for my testosterone levels to go up if I'm feeling stressed. What I need to do is solve the problem. And if I can't solve the problem, then I have to strategically distract myself to not think about the problem. And that's something we men can do. Women, doesn't work for them to strategically rationalize, logically look at the problem and say, nothing I can do, or don't get upset about it. No big deal. That's life. This is great strategies, which if you go to a psychologist, oh, you're just in denial. That's terrible. No, that's man. Now, there is a time for a man to share his pain and his grief and his, guilt and all that. And that's when there's a big thing, like his wife dies, his child dies, his children won't talk to him. These are big things on an emotional level. And the Chinese say it great. A man should never cry unless his heart is broken. Mm-hmm. Such a beautiful message. Because see, recently I had a business partner. I lost about $30 million because he died and he was in debt and there was lawsuits and all this stuff. And you think, well, and that most of my money, I'll get some out of it, so I'm fine. But talking about my feelings does not make me feel any better. It's figuring out how to save the company and manage this company and take action. As long as I keep taking action, I'm fine. But if I just sat there and go, oh my God, I just lost all this stuff, and feeling sorry for myself and talking about how bad it is, I'd be depressed. I'd be in anxiety. It was taking action because I was able to take over the companies and do this and handle this, and I'm able to solve the problem. And certainly I'm not going to get what I used to have, what I thought I had, but I have plenty. So it's like you solve the problem. You deal with it. You accept what is, and you solve the problem. That's a man. The female side of us needs to talk about how terrible it is. And just here's the secret. When you talk about that, it's a circle. You share some feelings about something at work, never upset feelings about the man, but just share upset feelings about work, frustration, disappointments, concerns, worries, feelings of embarrassment. Just share a little bit of what's inside, and your estrogen will go up. He'll be very attentive, because anything that raises estrogen in a woman will get his attention. It's like, think about the fireman who sits around doing nothing, and then there's a fire, he comes alive. There's a problem. It's a problem. He thinks once you start talking about problems, he's going to solve them. And you just have to let him know, oh, you don't have to solve anything. I just need to talk about it, and then I feel better. And then he watches you talk about frustrations and disappointments like a circle. And then you go around to the other side of the circle, and you're saying, but it's not all bad. The truth is, I love doing this, and it's not a big deal. He just did this and this and this. And actually, just felt good to talk about it. You just talk to man. Psychology something he'll never even learn in a psychology class. If a woman just talks for a while, she'll feel better because it makes estrogen, lowers her stress. And then suddenly what was a big problem is not a big problem. But if she's on her male side, she's already processed it. There's nothing I can do about it. It's not a big deal. Why talk about it? No point in talking about it. But all that stress is building up in her. And then she's going to want to have, she becomes needy for some kind of special attention from her partner, or she'll feel partner's just not enough. Whenever your estrogen's not enough, your experience of life is not enough time, not enough love, not enough confidence in the man, not enough male energy, whatever it is, you're just going to focus on not enough. So you explore those feelings, but then come back to your positive feelings. And this is the work you do on your own so that when you're interacting with men, the tone of your voice is one of vulnerability. It's not like you have to do all that vulnerability with him. It's literally in the tone of your voice. It's the smile that you have. It's the gait of your body. It all shows up. If you're in touch with your female side, you are attractive to men. And when you're really in touch with your female side, it's not like there's slim pickings. There's lots of great men out there. But not everyone is the one for you. You just have a great time using men to open your heart a little bit more, and then you will attract the right guy for you.
Yeah, I love it. Beautiful. Beautiful. I mean, so much here. This was such a value-packed interview. I was just thinking as you were speaking, one of the things I've learned from you among many, John, that has been incredibly helpful in my own relationship. Well, I'll mention two real quick that just kind of go along with what you're saying is if my husband's going through a problem and having a hard time, instead of me trying to jump in to solve the problem, I'll listen a little and I'll give a little bit of empathy. I'll say, that does sound challenging. And then I'll say, and I have every confidence that you, being the smart, intelligent man that you are going to figure out exactly what to do.
So
and
great.
he like puts his shoulders back and I can just tell he's like in for figuring it out, right?
Yeah. It's like, it's instead of offering help to a man, acknowledging he can do it for himself, and you trust that. Amazing.
Now, if he comes to me and asks my opinion or advice on something, then I'll give that.
That's
But I
right.
don't jump in and try to solve the problem for him or try to, manipulate what he's doing or tell him how to do it. I
Yeah.
empower him.
And I have one of my clients, she says, well, what am I supposed to do? I have the answer for him. He's doing it wrong. I can tell him the right way. If he's not asking for your advice, don't give it. This is a very, very difficult thing. Now, occasionally you could, but if it's consistently over and over and over, it's just like he'll push you away and push you away. That's my dog.
Hi, dog. What's your dog's name?
Mimi.
Mimi. Hi, Mimi. One other thing I want to mention that has been incredibly powerful that I've also learned from you, John, is asking for what I want from my husband instead of complaining about what I'm not getting. And it's amazing the difference
Yeah.
that has made.
And we'll just add another thing for those listening. I think you already know, and when you ask and he doesn't do it, you can kindly point out, oh, next time would you do this? Sometimes you forget. And I just want to remind you how good it feels when you do that. And it's not really a big deal, and walk out of the room. Just this phrase, it's not a big deal, lowers any stress in a man to actually consider and remember your request and think very highly of you. So I had such a good time talking with you. My dog comes in to get fed.
I loved it too. I think Mimi wants some attention now.
Yeah.
I want to encourage everybody once again to give us a like or leave a comment or share this video, and also be sure to check out all of John's books and his resources on MarsVenus.com. Be sure to get his free course there and check out Lauren's course on understanding men. John gave you just a little tiny taste of some of the things that are in some of these resources today. And John, I just can't thank you enough. It's been such a delight and such a privilege to interview you again today, and also for all that you've contributed to my work, and truly grateful for you. Thank you.
Michelle, it's always a pleasure for me to talk to you. And one little ad that's not in any of my books, so I feel like I should talk about it. And that is, people keep asking me how women can increase their estrogen, all right?
Yeah.
And how men can increase their testosterone. And the number one way is for people to know if you have belly fat, whether you're a man or woman, it's an endocrine disruptor, the most powerful one that exists. And you know if it's too much, you can just go, what is a healthy belly fat, what is not? And mine was not healthy, even though I'm rather uh, I'm not a round person. I'm more of an ectomorph. But you see, as men get older, they get these little bellies, and women get these bellies. And that's fine. My wife's still attracted to me, whatever, but it will inhibit estrogen. And I wouldn't even be talking about it if I didn't have the most amazing solution, which is there's new research showing that you can actually eat more protein, not diet, but eat more protein, and you will actually lose fat and gain muscle mass. Every diet you ever go on where you eat less calories will lower your metabolism and you'll get fatter. And if you're a man, you lose muscle mass when you diet. And as I get older, I'm reading all about how many people get dementia and all that. It's all directly related to how much muscle mass that you've lost. And hormone imbalance is all related to how much extra body fat you have in your belly. So there's a process I can lead people through, and they can contact me and I'll give them this information. We don't have time for it today, but if you go to MarsVenus.com and just go to contact us. We don't have a page describing it, but just we will contact you with someone that will explain the diet, show you the procedure so that you can eat more, more meals during the day, more protein during the day. It's a special protein that you pre-digest, you incubate it. It's amazing, which breaks the protein down, releases the amino acids so that there's no toxicity in the protein. Whenever you eat normal protein, 80% of it is toxic. Your body has to eliminate. But this way, you don't have any toxicity. You get pure amino acids. You incubate it for 45 minutes. You do it 2 to 4 times a day. I did 4 times a day in 3 weeks. I knocked off 2.5 inches off my belly, bringing it back to a healthy place where I was when I was in my 40s and 30s, something like that. So this is just an extra thing people can know. I always wanted to share good things that I read the studies on it. It's amazing. And we can help people if they want that.
So just go to MarsVenus.com and then go to the contact us page.
Yeah, there's just at the very bottom, it's a little phrase, contact us, and just write in there and we'll contact you. Give the phone number, email, and we'll contact you. All right.
Okay, sounds good. And we'll put the link to John's site in the show notes, and you can check out these resources. And John, I want to thank you once again. I know Mimi's wanting some love and some attention there.
Food. She wants food.
Oh, she wants food. Okay, well, yeah, that's a real need too, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And we will talk to you again sometime soon. And thanks everybody for watching. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Michelle. Yeah.
Okay, take care. Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.